Hi folks, and thanks for joining us. In this video, we have the second session, or the second episode, if you will, of our Star Wars game, and we'll do that right after the intro. Hi folks, and welcome to Sharp Mountain Games. Here we talk about group games, solo games, and we even have some actual plays in our live tab. You can also check out our print and PDF products at Amazon, Roll20, drive-thru, and Lulu, and they're all linked below. Now let's get to the good stuff. Hi folks, this is John from Sharp Mountain Games, and tonight we have our second actual play, our solo actual play of our Star Wars game. And let me just introduce you to everybody and how the system works. So how does this system work? And I know you're not going to be able to see all this. Every character has 8 attributes which kind of function as broad skill groups, and they have some ratings in them. And we want to roll, for example, this one is a charisma. So for our human pilot, the charisma is 12 or under. And if they roll 12 or under, they're successful. Humans are lucky. They get 2 advantage rolls per day. So if they really want to succeed, they can try and roll 2 dice and take the lower number. And some folks get other different things. So like our untrained Jedi here has a couple of Jedi powers, and our medic and our Mon Calamari medic has some other powers. So this paper, I'm going to put where I can see it and probably where you can't, but that's okay. You don't need to watch it all the way through. And let me just move things around to get everything comfortable here. There we go. So who are our main characters? So we have, in no particular order, I go with the rainbow. So we have Jonan Connix, who's the human pilot. He's young and kind of brash. And we have Inara, who is our untrained Jedi. So she definitely has some force abilities, but not a lot of training in them yet. Adachawa is our mechanic, and he is a Wookiee, and he's sometimes kind of grumpy. And Thalu is our Mon Calamari medic. And he had an ancestor who was a Jedi, so he has a lot of connection to that. And you can see I have different colored D20s here. If we get into combat, this is going to make it so easy because I just match up the color with the particular characters. And let me tell you a little bit about what happened last time. Last time they had to do a little mission for the rebellion. They worked for the rebellion. And they were transferring some seeds. Now these are, you say, well, just seeds. Yeah, but these were very important seeds because they can make medicines out of it. And right now the Empire has a tight control on all the medicines. So it's really important to get these seeds out to different planets that are sympathetic to the rebellion so that they can have this, because certainly you have to have repairs and repair your people in a rebellion. So they passed off the seeds. They were confronted by some bounty hunters and had to talk their way out of the Imperial customs officers, but they did make it off planet. However, our Jedi, Inara, the other rebel agent, palmed her a data card. And in that data card, she believes that it's some Jedi cache that was left on another planet, a faraway planet, that this Jedi may have left this cache. And she's very hopeful maybe that there's a lightsaber among that cache. She's not sure, but she's hoping that some of that was left there. And they're suspecting that this is he or she chose a pretty remote world because to avoid the Empire or the Empire's people from finding them. Okay, so they are conferring in the cockpit, and Jonan isn't sure about all this. He says something to the effect of, well, what do you mean we're going out to this planet and look for Jedi stuff? We did our mission. We've got to go back and we'll get paid and we'll get another mission, and that's the way it's going to go. But Inara says, yes, but I'm feeling something through the Force that this might be where it's leading us. And he says, yeah, but Jonan says, it's going to take a lot of fuel to get out there and all that. And Thalu also presses on him saying, yes, but the rebellion really is about hope, and we're trying to restore the old republic, and the Jedi were, a big part of all this. And Inara says, oh, and also you don't know in this cache, maybe, the Jedi left some credits or some gems or something of great value, and I'm sure that the rebellion wouldn't, they would never really know if, you happen to take a good bit of that, Jonan. And he says, well, all right. He says, but let's call this up on the data reader. And they do, and it's written in this old spacer's code. So they have to call in their droid, CSP1. He's a protocol droid, and he's got pretty good programming. So he is going to try to read the old spacer code here. And I'm going to say that's a 14 or less for him. 5. Can you see the dice there in my dice tower? And yeah, he's thankfully he's easily able to read that. And he says, yes, I can. We can get the coordinates off of this. He said, in fact, we even have coordinates on the planet that will get us close. I don't know that it'll take us exactly right to where the cache is, but that would be very helpful. So Jonan kind of grumbles a good bit, but he sets the coordinates, and they make the jump to light speed. Got to make the sound effects, I guess. And they come out above the planet, and Thalu says, I'm going to do some scans here and, see if I can get some information on the planet. And a 6, I'm going to say that would probably be, he's medically trained. Maybe more survival. Either way, 6 is plenty low enough that he is able to get the information. And he says, oh, it's going to be very cold down there. It's a very Arctic world. He said, I don't think it's quite as cold as Hoth Base used to be. He said, but definitely is a very cold environment. In fact, on a side note, I don't tend to use oracles too much while I'm playing. I know some people do, and that's great. And you might say, well, where's the surprise? Well, one thing I do is a lot of times I'll roll on random tables beforehand as I'm making my notes for the session. You can see I have some notes here on an index card. So I do try to use a little bit of randomness for before these sessions. So this is going to make my life so easy because if it's an Arctic world, well, here's all our snow. Now, it's not as snowy as Hoth. I'm thinking more of like a northern temperate forest during the winter. And Thalu also detects a village. Now, it's not a very, he's not getting technological signals, so he knows that this village, they may not have advanced to that level yet. But they're going to be very cautious in approaching the village. Now, our two droids, CSP1 and R2DO, that'll be the silver one. He's an R2 unit. They stay on board, and they're going to check things out with the ship. And we'll move the ship off to the side. We don't need that just yet, just so it's not in the way here. So our little white paper here, this will have to be the whole planet, little by little. Move everything out of the way that we don't need for right this minute. And they approach very cautiously. Up ahead is that village. And, they don't know exactly where they're going, but they're hoping perhaps that the village will be able to tell them. Oh, and Thalu would have, I should say this, they do bring CSP1 along. I keep knocking my little people over here. So we'll put a few blocks here to represent the village, just a few huts. Don't need a lot. And those of you who have watched any of my videos before, I do it real lo-fi. And that's intentional. I don't want to be spending a lot of time thinking about or having to scoop up a lot of minis. I'll use a mini if I have one, handy, but I'm not going to, the goal is to have a good time, not to overburden ourselves with things. So Atachawa, he's going to kind of sneak ahead. He has pretty good survival of 12. So he's going to try to sneak ahead, and even though this is very snowy and maybe it's in the middle of winter or it's a very much a tundra environment, there are some trees here and things like that. So let's see. We're going to have Atachawa sneak ahead. His survival is 12. Let's see how he does. 16. No. So we've got to honor the failed roll. He makes a lot of noise, and these creatures come out, and they have their spears, and, whoa. They are speaking in their voice. Now, I have 3 of these yellow pawns that I have here, but that'll represent more than that, and hopefully we'll have to see. So there's a lot of them, maybe 10 or 20. Now, what do they look like? They're a little bit like maybe rounder Ewoks. I was thinking of some of the old Ralph McQuarrie's concept sketches that didn't really make it into Return of the Jedi. But they have, instead of, they look a lot like Ewoks, but their teeth are more like walrus tusks here. But they have very heavy fur for the Arctic region here. And they step forward, and CSP1 is hearing all this. Yeah, no problem. So he's able to quickly translate what they say. And he's unsure. He says, well, what should I tell him? What should I tell them? And Anar says, well, just tell them the truth, that we're strangers from elsewhere, and we're trying to find, the location. Maybe there was this great healer. So CSP1 does tell them this, and they ponder all this, and they're defensive. They don't want to let them into the village. And CSP1 tells them, he hears their chittering and they're talking. And he says, well, they don't know if you're brave enough. They seem to value bravery quite a bit to get this information, because they don't know if you're brave and righteous enough to do this sort of thing. And Jonan kind of groans, something's going on here. And Thalos says, well, ask them what we would need to do, to prove our virtue and our bravery. So CSP1 does this. He asks them about it. And they tell him that there is a young man of their village who went out to do, kind of like not necessarily the vision quest, but this great hunt. And he's gone missing. And, perhaps if they went out and were able to bring him back, they would then consider them worthy enough to, get this information. And his name was Deltara. And Jonan, again, groans about this. And Anar says, yeah, but we have to do this. This is very important. We've come all this way. CSP1 is going to stay behind because he may or may not be very useful for that sort of thing. And they kind of bow, and they're very fascinated by CSP1. Now, they don't treat him like a god necessarily the way the Ewoks did, but they also may have had some contact with this Jedi who was here before. And Inara also, she says to Thalu, do you think there's any chance that the Jedi would still be here? And he says, well, I don't know. He said, it's a very harsh environment. And the only information we have is about the cache. So let me take my CSP1 and everybody else off the stage here, because they are going to need to hike out through the wilderness. And Thalu, while he was there, very, very carefully did some medical scans on the people. I'm going to retcon that. I think he would be wise enough to do that. And he's going to be able to use that in order to try and get a bead on where this fellow might be. Now, they did tell them, and they did give them some information. So they hike a good ways out of the village. I mean, maybe like a half day's hike. Let's see what Thalu finds out. 19. He has a vague idea where he is, but he's not getting any information about the rest of it here. And the terrain is very uneven. So I'm going to have them all make a roll here to make sure that nobody falls and hurts themselves, because it's very icy. They're not super equipped for all this. They're all cold. Okay. So I got to double check who's what here. I would say that's survival more than fitness. So Jonan is fine. Inara is not. She got a 19. Atachawa is not with a 12. And neither is the doctor. So they all fall and take a little bit of damage here. So everybody but Jonan. And let's see. Okay, so we have some damage there. And let me make a note of that. So, Inara really takes a slip there. Maybe she twists her leg or something, and so does Atachawa. He groans and grunts. And Thalu, not too bad, but he does a little bit of a trip there. Okay. Now, I'm going to roll to see if there's time for Thalu to do any kind of healing before what happens next. So let's see. We'll just do 50-50 chance. 1, 2, 3 is in the player's favor. 6, no, not in the player's favor. So even though I don't use oracles, I do sometimes let the dice make the decisions. And I do that in my face-to-face games or my group games also. Provides a little bit of scariness there, or a little bit of suspense. And crashing through the bushes, perhaps it heard them, especially with that accident making all that noise, is this strange, very large, I don't know, sort of spider crab creature, maybe cyclops. So I have him here. He's a little big for the scale here, but that's okay because we want him to be scary. And he runs at them, and we have to now roll for an initiative. 1, 2, 3 is in the player's favor. 4, 5, 6 is not. How do we do? 3. Okay. So even though they've just, twisted ankles and had all kind of problems here, this thing is running at them. They're able to get out their blasters. They disperse a little bit, as best they can. And let's see what's going on here. Okay. Jonan hits. Anara does not. Who else? Atachawa does not. And neither does our medic, because their combat skills are not super high. They'll get to improve them as they go. Now, they're not setting anything to stun here, so that's 2d6. And let's see how we do here. Okay, 5. So Jonan gets a pretty solid hit on the creature. It kind of roars back, and we'll take off that those hit points there from it, or scene points. And now it's turn. So it wades in here at them, and it's getting at them with those 2 claws. So we're going to give it 2 claw attacks, and then we'll see how it does. And those are d6 attacks if they hit. So let's see how we do. So a 12 hits, but a 16 does not. So that's 6 points of damage, and we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 just across in the order that they're standing. And let's see how that is. 2. Looks like it's our doctor takes 6 points of damage. So they are going to try to fire again and see how they do. Give them a good roll, run them down the dice tower. My Sharp Mountain Games dice tower. That's just the logo I printed out to put there on the bottom. And let's see who hits. Looks like 2 hits. No, again, only 1. Only my yellow dice is, because our medic only has an 8 for combat. So, and nobody else got. So, Jonan hits again. He says, come on, guys, you got to help me out here. I can't do it all myself. Oops, 6. Okay, well, remember that 6. Got to get it down the dice tower for it to count. And 4, 10. Oh, that's pretty good. So that's going to really take him down. That's going to take it down to about half hit points. I think it's going to make one more attack, and then we're going to roll and see if it stays, because it may decide, this isn't worth it. Okay, a 4 and a 19. So the 4 hits for 1 point of damage. That's not too much. For 1, so that is on the red, which is Jonan. And let's do a roll. Since he's down to half hit points, we'll say there's a 50% chance that he leaves. 1, 2, 3 is in the player's favor. 6. Nope. He's not smart enough. He stays. So they have to kind of still get their blasters out. I mean, they really don't have any other options here. There's nowhere to run, unfortunately, other than finishing this firefight. And let's see how we do. 4 is good. Oh, Anara is having a terrible time. The 1 is good. And I just got to quick check that 11. That's not. So 2 hits here. So that's going to be 2d6 twice. I'll just roll all 4 at once. And, let's see. 10 and 16. This thing topples over. And it's no more. And they breathe kind of hard and like, oh gosh, that was rough. That was hard. And in fact, they said, well, maybe we better take a moment here and see if you can help us there. If the doctor can help them. So let's see. He is going to have to roll for that. Now he does have a med kit. So he is able to do 2d6 if he's successful. So everybody was hurt. So he's going to, let's see, we'll just go right down the thing. He's going to try for Jonan. Yeah, he's able to get Jonan back up to full hit points. Make a note on my little card here. Then Anara, he checks her. She's down 6. Okay, so she's good. Just in case we need this for later. You never know. And then Atachawa. Now, his med kit only has 5 charges. So let's see. He's used 2. So he has 3 left. Now he's only going to have 2 left because he was able to do some healing on Atachawa. Yeah, our Wookiee goes back up to full throttle there. Then Thalu, our Mon Calamari medic, checks himself out, and yeah, just barely, but he makes it. And yet, let's see, able to get himself back up to full hit points here. So he scans, and they are able to find the young warrior here. However, there's a little bit of a problem. They don't have their droid with them to communicate. They didn't think he would make it across the cold, icy plains. Can you imagine C-3PO trying to really navigate out in the bush very well? I guess he did a little bit in certain situations. So I'm going to have everybody make a charisma roll, and let's see what happens here. So 12, 11, 10, and 11. These folks need a little more experience to bump up. Okay, so Atachawa is good. Jonan is good. Anara, I don't think she has made a roll this whole evening. She says, I don't think I'm very much used to you folks. And of course, our medic is good, so that's no problem. So as a group roll, more than half of them succeeded. So they're able to kind of beckon him and convince them, and they point to the dead creature there, that they took care of that creature for him. And they're going to be able to bring him back to the village. So we'll just, kind of move things along, a little jump scene there. And they bring him back to the village. And the villagers, of course, are overjoyed, and they rush and they embrace and they're talking. And CSP1 later tells me, it seems like that he was telling stories, maybe making his bravery a little bit more than it was, claiming that he had really helped to kill the creature too. But nobody corrects them. There's no need to do that. And they are very happy to now give them the information. So this cave, they say that there was a healer who lived there a long time ago, but did not stay very long. They came and they left things, and they left very quickly. But they did stay here for, long enough to recuperate, maybe a month or so. And they even had, he says, they say that the person had magical powers, divine powers, and actually did some healing on the people here in the village, the kind of hairy natives here. And Anar says, "Oh, that definitely sounds like a Jedi. Hopefully that data set we have is in good shape there." So they're going to take their leave of the village and start climbing up the mountain. And it's pretty steep. They're going to be going all the way up the mountain. I don't have any scenery here or anything for that. And I'm going to say that's definitely going to be a survival roll, to make sure that nobody slips and that nobody hurts themselves, on this icy terrain. And maybe even that, nobody gets any ill effects from the bad weather. The green one didn't go down the thing, but we're still going to count it. So let's see. Jonan is fine with his survival. Anara is fine. She can sense that the cave is near and should be good. Let's see. Thalu is good. And I just got to take a look. I can't quite see Atachawa's dice. Oh, they're okay. So nobody has any trouble getting up the mountain here. And you can see that I did roll for it. I tried to keep things honest. And they approach the cave. So here's our cave entrance here, something like that. That looks good enough. And CSP1 wouldn't have come with them. He would go back to the ship, I'm sure. We won't need him for a little bit. So they approach the cave, and Thalu says, well, can you feel anything? Can you detect anything? And she says, well, I'm not well trained as a Jedi, Inara says. But let me see. Let me see if I can find anything. Now, she doesn't specifically have a force skill for something like that, but we'll just roll under her force, or hopefully under her force, and see what happens. So that's a 14 or less. 7. Inara says, I'm getting something. But unfortunately, what I'm getting is something kind of dark from that cave. And Jonan, who's a little impulsive, he says, well, I'm going to throw a rock in there and see what happens. And she says, no. Wait, let me see what I can do. So she is going to, maybe not so much a rock, but get a stick. And she has telekinesis. So she's going to move this small object and bring it in there, just to make sure there's no trap or anything like that. 16. So she's not able to tell. She's able to move the stick maybe a little bit, but not so much. And Jonan says something to the effect of, oh, maybe we do need to be going in here. So we're going to have them enter the cave. And they go down a corridor for a bit. I don't know if they would fit underneath here. No, they're too tall. So they go down this cave for a little while. And they hear, a wind howling. Like maybe there's another outlet to the cave that's letting the wind. But then after a while, they're going deeper and deeper, and they have some kind of torches with them, some kind of flashlights. Not torches like D&D would have torches, but some kind of flashlights. And that howling turns more into a voice. Leave my cavern now. And approaching them, they see a figure. And I had this wizard who I actually used in another live play video. You may remember him, but he's doing double duty here. And let's see, Inara says, she thinks perhaps it's a Sith spirit. So we're going to have to make some force rolls here to see what happens. I love rolling them all at once because it's so fast. So let's see. Jonan is good. Thalu is good. But the other two, Inara and Adachawa, are kind of almost paralyzed here. However, like I said, our medic and our pilot are not. And Thalu says, we have to distract it. So they have enough sense to they move down one of the side passages here and try to distract the force spirit here. And let's see, we'll do another force roll on that. But Jonan is going to burn one of his advantages because he really wants to make this roll to try to distract them. So they are calling kind of all of their inner resolve here. And let's see what happens. So, yes, with the advantage, Jonan is good. He wouldn't have been good without it. Thalu is not. But Jonan is able to sort of run and distract it. And, come, take my spirit if you must. And that's going to be enough to distract his attention away. And Inara and Adachawa go forward. And they find another small chamber there. And in that small chamber, wrapped in a blanket or a cloth or a leather is a package. And she says, this must be it. And inside she finds like a Jedi symbol. And she finds a tube. She says, this may be a lightsaber if it works. And Adachawa was not sure what to make of this. He wants to get out of here. He does not like that spirit, especially since it kind of paralyzed him. So they're going to run back this way. and she is going to try and frighten the Sith spirit away. She says, it's now or never. She's going to see if she can light up that lightsaber. And we are going to say 4 out of 6 that the lightsaber works. We're going to let the dice decide, whether that works. Because think about it. Ben Kenobi had Anakin's lightsaber for 20 years and the batteries still work. So I think that's a pretty good shot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to work. 3. So the lightsaber lights up, and that Sith spirit or remnant of the Sith can feel coming from her, that there's the light side of the Force, and we're going to have him dissipate. So they got what they came for, and Jonah says, "That's good. I don't want to see one of those again anytime soon." And Thalu is very, very proud of her. He says, "Oh, you may have the Jedi heritage indeed." And they decide, they're going to make their way down the mountain as quickly as they can. Now, I don't think they would go back necessarily to the village. I don't think there's any need for that. So they are going to go back to their ship, which is the New Hope, take off in the New Hope, and we're going to see if, anybody followed them here, if anybody had any idea, because, we don't know if that traitor fully got away. We don't know if the Empire had other information about this planet. So I think 50-50. 1, 2, 3, they're fine. 4, 5, 6, there's going to be a problem. What did I get? 1, 2, 3. I was kind of thinking that maybe we would have another encounter here today, but we don't. No, so the Empire was not able to track them. I guess the other rebel agent from the previous session got away, and they are able to make the jump to hyperspace. And Inara is just thrilled to finally have a lightsaber, although she doesn't have any real training in this. Thalu is very proud as well. Jonan kind of grumbles because he didn't get any money out of the deal. There didn't seem to be any gems or anything in that Jedi cache. And Atachawa is just glad to be away from that Force spirit. So we will stop there for tonight. I'm recording this at night, but I don't know when you're watching it. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you get some solo gaming or some group gaming in real soon. And we'll see. Maybe we'll continue this story. We'll see you again real soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to give a like and a subscribe, that's great. Or especially if you want to leave a comment if you enjoyed this. Take care and have a great day.